Trump called Americans suckers and losers, and I say Trump will shut his mouth. I'm the firstborn daughter of a United States Marine, and I have less than 30 days to stop him from being sworn into the presidency. And I'll do it legal. I only need one meeting with Biden at the White House, and I'll have it wrapped up with a bow, red, white, and blue by Christmas. All legal. Not Secret Santa. I'm signing it with my name. Love, Julie Elizabeth Mumma. So anyway, thanks for having me back on your show, and just glad to be here talking with you today.
Now, how would you, please explain that, because I'm curious, and I'm sure our audience is curious of what would you do to make that happen?
Well, I need to have a meeting with Biden, and of course I'm not going to spell out exactly the things that I would do because I think it's a national security threat. I think our country is under foreign attack, and I've had my wolf eyes on all this corruption, and I'm a patriot, the real kind. You know, not a KGB fluff mouth like Trump or a two-bit hack like Biden. I just need to get one meeting, and I can tell you kind of in brief order the legal things that have been done, and so I think your listeners would know from that they could extrapolate out what legally could be done right now. It's just that the politicos in Washington won't do it because they all are thick as thieves. Do you want me to give you a few kind of, for your listeners, a few little tips of things that have happened in the past that have been declared legal that I think that there's problems with it, but it is legal. John Yoo wrote the torture memos. He's currently at UC Berkeley teaching law. That was declared legal. Obama signed an executive order as president, indefinitely detaining citizens outside of due process of law, said that he had the authority to do that. Legal. I screamed my professor head off about it. And I can just keep going on and on. There's all of these things that have been done legally throughout history in our country. And I will leverage every legal thing to stop Trump from being sworn into the presidency. He's a traitor.
Well, first of all, if I may, Julie, number one, I agree with you. I've said back in 2016, I said he's compromised by the KGB. There's no question about that. A president to come out and say that I trust the Russian Secret Service over ours, that alone should have been enough to impeach him alone. It's from my point of view. Now, I agree with you 100%. I scream my head off about this and then to deaf ears because nobody thinks, oh, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. I know exactly. It's just like you. My father was in counterintelligence. My uncle was in counterintelligence, and I understand, and I am offended exactly. And when I was on the radio down in Santa Cruz, I made that point very clear. And people called, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, and blah, blah, blah. So people are so stupid that it's like they're doing it right in front of our eyes, and they do that purposely because they know that people would never believe it if you do it out in the front.
Well, it's really comes down to no one can really believe that it can be done, and so then they fight back trying to use legal mechanisms, not recognizing that a handful of billionaires control our country. And this handful of billionaires have declared war on our military and the working class. So I will do to Trump exactly what he's threatening to do to us. Trump will be a footnote in the history books because America is not for sale. That fat boy Trump ain't raping Lady Liberty. My eyes are on him, and it can be done legally, just not in the Jack Smith or Fannie Willis legal way. It can be done in the legal way, the same way the National Security Agency, the NSA, domestically spies on American citizens legally. Trump knew it when he got sworn into office because he was crying about it, that Obama's spying on him. Duh. Of course. I'm a professor. I knew that the NSA was bypassing the Fourth Amendment warrant requirement and spying on citizens. And then the telecom corporations were given immunity for participating in this deal. This is all out in the open, and they say it's all legal. So all I'm saying is I can do legally what has been done to us and do back to these billionaires, but not in the way that a Jack Smith can do it. That's why he was stymied. We suspended habeas corpus during the Civil War. Legal. All of these things are available to us, but the billionaire class that is running this country will not use these things. They want to say that they could run it through the courts. Are you kidding me? These Trump and Klan judges and billionaire class own everything. They own it all. We watched as the bankers robbed our banks in 2008. It was an inside job. They looted American pensions, and it was all done legal. As we heard all the politicians give lip service about stopping it legally. And all they do is drag it out until Americans can't take it any longer because they don't get anything done. It can be fixed, and it can be fixed legally. And I'll leverage all the legal things that I, as a former lawyer, know is possible, because these are the things that I have been screaming about. Monsanto Corporation took farms off farmers. Legal. Now, do I think it was legal? No, but they weaponized our legal system and did it. So all I'm saying is the things that they have done to us, the billionaires have done to regular American working class, I say I can do back, but I need one meeting, just one meeting with Biden. The Saudi corporation stole billions in free groundwater off of Arizona. Our farmers pay for that. They say that's legal. And Trump and Biden and Harris and all of them watch this go on. I'm just a lowly professor. I can see that this is happening, but Americans cannot stay on top of all this. So I'm saying it can be done legally, and I'll be the one to do it. And I have a message to get in, of a way to get into Biden. I've been writing, of course, being ignored, but I think that there is a way. When Americans get fed up with this, they will find a way to get me one meeting in the White House, and I will stop it. And I'll stop it before Christmas, not 3 years from now, right now.
Let me let the audience know you have been a professor in law for many years, and that is your background, teaching law. And I know that you have such a sharp intellect that most people don't appreciate your abilities. And certainly, I think one of the reasons that you finally realized that you can't go with the way things are, because let's say, you've said it perfectly. The billionaires have taken over the Supreme Court. They are now feeding them, have been for years, and that's why that was the last domino they needed to capture, and they've done that.
Yeah, and I fought legally in the courts because as an American citizen, I grew up, and I still believe in all this. We can fix all of this corruption, but it requires taking off the head of that snake. And that snake, Trump, has to be taken out. And then I'll go after the Biden crime family. I'll take them out by Christmas, too. All that money is coming back to Americans, all of it. They're all in on it. And, I handled it legally. So I've been systems testing. How is the court being run? And so I system tested things. How bad is it? I mean, I had a federal judge, Judge Shub, run his mouth at me as a young lawyer in a court, and I shut it. I took a pro bono appeal up to the Ninth Circuit, not because I necessarily was that upset about the case, but he ran his mouth at me as a girl in a courtroom. And I was like, I'm not standing for this. And so I just did a pro bono appeal, and I smoked him. He got reversed on a published case out of the Ninth Circuit, and he shut his mouth. But this problem that we have of corruption can't be handled in that fashion because the corruption is so insidious at this point. It has to be handled in a different legal mechanism. And I, quite frankly, have been on the front lines of fighting this for more than 30 years because I have been watching the systematic erosion of rights. And I'm not going to stand for it. So, I have a message to Robert Reich at UC Berkeley. Call Bill Clinton. You're the former Secretary of Labor. Call Bill Clinton. Get me one meeting at the White House, and that traitor Trump is not going to be prancing into the presidency to the tune of YMCA. I'll do it legal, so legal his head will spin, and everyone will be calling it a Christmas miracle and saying, how could that happen? It can happen if I get one meeting. That's all I need, one meeting.
By the way, this is, excuse me for saying this, this is kind of a side note, but most people don't know this, but the song YMCA, Dave Hodo is the guy with the construction helmet in that group. Yeah. He went to Sac State.
I did not know that.
I know, nobody knows that.
When you think of construction workers, you don't think Trump. He don't swing hammers. He don't climb ladders. These billionaires think that they're running us. And to think that the billionaire class is going to fight their own kind, they're not going to. That's why they delay and delay and delay, promising that justice will be brought for both sides, and it's on all sides. But it has to start. Trump cannot be sworn into the presidency. And, quite frankly, I know Biden gave back money that we seized, and he gave it back to the Taliban behind our backs. So the Biden crime family will return all of our money before Christmas. All I need is one meeting with him, and I will make it clear what will happen and what things I have available to me, but I need a meeting at the White House. This can't be handled. I don't have a super PAC to fight, and you can't fight it that way. They're all sold out. Biden is in Africa right now stuffing more money into his pockets on the way out the door. And Kamala is on vacation hawking cookbooks and whimpering on a video. Don't let them take your power. They're all thick as thieves. They're a bunch of do-nothings, and I will smash their mouths legally using all the things I know from history that have been legally done to Americans, and I will do it to that billionaire class. They will get stopped if I can get in with one meeting. That's all I need, one meeting.
Well, it seems to me that all empires eventually fall because of this specific problem that you're alluding to right now, which is very real. And yes, you're right. It's always been, all these empires are always controlled by the 1.5% of the individuals that hoodwink by having gladiators fight amongst them. Take their attention, give them another iPhone, give them another Samsung phone, give them another TV show so they don't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, and it's not the fault of Americans. They're hardworking, and they've been put in a place where they're now working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet while inflation gets run up, and they don't know. They don't have the ability to fight back. I have been watching this since I was a kid in the 80s, and I have been thinking my entire life, how could I fight single-handedly to stop this? And so I have trained as a lawyer. I've trained as a professor, and now is the time that it has come so far out in the open that American citizens can see this. And what we need is one person who will stop all the corruption and be the person where they say the buck stops with me, it'll stop with me because I'll stop it all. We are the greatest nation on earth, and I am not watching Lady Liberty go down in flames simply because corruption tends to always corrupt. We have the mechanisms in our country that can stop this. It's written right into our Declaration of Independence. It's written into our Constitution, and the only reason it's not being enforced is because they all have their hands in the honey jar. And I'm going to slap their hands out of the honey jar, and I'm taking that money back. I can seize that money legally as soon as I have one meeting with Biden at the White House. That's all I need.
Now, Julie, can you mind giving us at least a hint, if you can't tell us exactly what it is you're alluding to here?
I mean, all you'd have to do is look and see how executive power has been used in this country behind the backs of Americans to loot Americans. And I would leverage that and use it right back on them. All of this can be stopped. The corporations can be stopped. We are the greatest nation in the world. And to say that we can't defend ourselves and that we have to allow a handful of billionaires to dictate the terms to us, that somehow we should have to then use our fortunes and our lives to be protesting in the streets, that's absurd. We need someone that can get in a position of power and use all the good things that America stands for and that Americans stand for, and then watch what happens. No. They have used executive orders all the livelong day to crush American dissent and liberty and get control of us. And I firmly believe this can all be fixed. And whether he gets in or not, whether anybody gets me to Biden or not, I won't stop. It's just a matter of time. There's no way Trump's going to ever come for me. I wrote talk, and I sent it to him, and I sent it to his friends China and Russia through the embassies. You can ask around at embassy parties. Anybody could ask. I've mailed this out to everyone, and they have kept their mouth shut because I'm the American that they cannot fight with, because I'm not bought by money. I stand on principle, and I have been preparing to stand solo against all of it. So the threats, he's a fake thug dancing to YMCA trying to act like a thug because he thinks he's going to get in charge of our military. And then the military either is in a position where they have to follow a president who's issuing insane orders, or they will lose their jobs. And most people are not going to risk losing their jobs and putting their family into poverty and violence. So everything that he's threatening to do, fire people, not give them overtime wages, don't pay them, bust up all the unions, he's not going to do it on my watch, or he has to come through me. And whether he'll ever turn his attention onto me, maybe he won't. Maybe I'm just a voice in the wilderness. But I'll tell you what, I'll still be standing there, and every moment in history, I will be stepping forward to lead this country, because we are a great country, and we have all these protections in place, and all the good people serving in our courts and serving in our government. They will all step forward and do the right thing, but they are not protected right now, and everyone knows that. And so they're all running for cover because they're afraid of the threats that Trump is making, because Trump is leveraging that he can do all this. And of course he can do all of it. He's going to do all of this. All the worst things that I just gave you a little taste test of what I know have been legally done. And I'm just saying, I'll do whatever he's thinking, I'll do it right back at him squared. It's going to come so hard at him, it will be done by Christmas, but I have to get in a position of power. And Kamala just carrying on, don't let them take your power. And she's like literally whimpering. She is the second in command of America. She could declare the 25th Amendment right now on that drooling fool Biden and do everything that I'm talking about doing. Why won't she do it? Because when she was Attorney General, she did not stop the collection. This is outrageous. There are states, California being the leader in it. California for years, decades, has been gathering newborn baby blood behind the backs of parents. They don't get the parental consent. When the babies are born in hospitals, they take the baby blood. They say, oh, it's to check on to make sure the babies are okay. That's not what that's about. They're stockpiling the DNA, and babies can't fight back. So when people find out the level of what this government has been doing and been allowed to do it, they'll want to tear it limb from limb. But we cannot tear our government down. We have to tear out the rot. And that rot is intellectual rot by a bunch of do-nothing billionaires. Gavin Newsom got in because his daddy got a billionaire friend to give him the money for Plump Jack. And then all of a sudden he's off to the races and now running things. He didn't stop anything. I've been sending this to everyone. The only thing he stopped was me taking out an ad at University of California, Davis. Over a year ago, I wrote to their student newspaper and said, I want to take out an ad on the front page asking this question. Why is Governor Newsom not doing anything basically to stop the stealing of newborn baby blood, which sounds crazy, but it's not. CBS just did a little report just this year on it. And they took my money, and then they said, oops, we're not going to run your ad. Now, you're telling me that somebody behind the scenes didn't shut that ad down?
Of course.
Of course they did. Because if the students had found out that this is happening, and it would have just literally taken 5 seconds to run a search on this, and you'll see it's happening. And Kamala was Attorney General, the top lawyer in California. She did nothing to stop it. She didn't do anything to stop it when she was VP. Fresno, in our federal prisons, have a rape club at Dublin. This is all public knowledge. Do they do one thing to stop any of this? No, they're all in on it, and they don't want to risk their fortunes to take a stand for things that are right and true, because they keep thinking just more money, more money, and then we'll just parade around and have some political events, and everyone will think it'll just magically just get fixed. It's not going to get fixed by the regular. They're going to pass a law. Who's going to be interpreting that? These corrupt judges. That's who's going to be interpreting it.
I have to do this. I'm an interviewer. I need to push back. What the other side would say to you, because I can hear them saying this to you. Well, if you think our country is so great and we're the greatest country in the world, it's because the billionaires are controlling everything. That's why it's so great. That's what they would say to you.
Well, then I would say, how would you like it when minimum wage goes, and when the billionaires tell you that you can't organize by unions, and that you can't band together as workers to demand that you get health care, and when the billionaires say you're not entitled to health care, and that'll just be the end of it. If the billionaires say it, that's the end of it. If we don't stand for
No, Julie, they're saying the billionaires would say to you, you just stated that we have the greatest country in the world. And they're saying, yeah, because we are controlling the government. That's why it is the greatest country. That's what they would say.
No, this corporate takeover started in the 80s. And what we saw is that this billionaire class kind of coming in around that time is when things started going corrupt. They're not going to come out and do it to our faces. They've been doing it behind the scenes. What they've been doing is using the law to gather all this power. And what you're seeing is the culmination of that coming together with Trump. And Biden doesn't come out and say any of this straight out because they're all doing backhanded deals behind the scenes. So yeah, we are the greatest country in the world because the working class keeps taking it. The middle class keeps taking it, and they just work harder, and then the productivity gains, instead of going to workers, go to the corporations. And then they write rules that they can buy our government. They did this with it's an abomination, the name. It's called Citizens United. It's the decision out of the Supreme Court that basically said unlimited money can come in to buy politicians, and nobody can say anything about it. And so that's where we've seen this influence of foreign money, and now the basic weaponization of social media and the algorithms to really, it's an evolutionary parlor trick, and they're basically just getting everyone jacked up to keep fighting each other, because this is what has been done successfully throughout history, to get the classes fighting against each other so that the rich swipe it.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah, the billionaire class, they're a handful of people. Do you think that they're the ones that are doing all the work? No, they're not. They're the ones that steal the work off the actual workers.
Julie, I only have a minute and a half left. So give your information out. People can contact you, email you, what the platforms that you're on so they can converse with you.
Yeah, sure. I'm on X. I have several accounts, but they're all through Thor 0035. Thanks for having me on, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
My pleasure.